Today on Sports Central, we'll be going over a college football game preview and prediction on one of the big matchups coming up in Week 8 of this 2020 season, and that's going to be between Nebraska and Ohio State. And this is going to be a big matchup between both these teams, especially considering the Big Ten is finally back in action this week. And it's kind of ironic, especially considering it's the first week of the Big Ten being back, and we got Nebraska and Ohio State playing each other, which, let me remind you, these were the two teams that I would say brought back the Big Ten from the dead in the first place. It didn't look like the Big Ten was going to be playing any football games this fall until Nebraska and Ohio State continued being persuasive about it, and it looks like the Big Ten once again obviously is back in action. So it's really good to see that we get some Big Ten games coming up this weekend, and this is going to be one of your bigger ones, especially considering Ohio State's going to be a top 5 team, I would say, for the majority of the season, and possibly a national contender. So we get to see another national contender back in the mix here this week, which Ohio State has to play a Nebraska team, which definitely, I don't think they want to give it an easy win against Ohio State here. So Nebraska definitely being a team that's kind of in the rebuilding phase right now, this is an important game for them to try to start their season off pretty quick. But obviously this is going to be a big matchup, and we're going over a full game preview and prediction on this one. And obviously this game is going to be on Saturday, October 24th, noon Eastern in Columbus. So Ohio State will be the home team for this matchup. And the spread is heavily on the Ohio State side right now. 24.5 points is where the spread is leaning towards the Buckeyes right now. And that is a very heavy spread, especially towards Ohio State. I think Ohio State definitely should be favored in this game, and that's pretty obvious why. But I think it should be much closer than 24.5 points. I mean, that's like expecting a 40-point blowout, and I really don't think Ohio State's going to win this matchup by 40 points. But all around, I mean, even the ESPN FPI is really predicting Ohio State. 95% is the prediction there, and the Vegas prediction is going a little more conservative there, saying 43-29 Ohio State winning the game only by 14 points. So all around, all three of our sources are saying Ohio State here by a heavy margin, but once again, I think it's reasonable to say Ohio State should be the favorite here. But 24.5 points on the spread for Ohio State, yeah, that's a pretty heavy favorite for the Buckeyes heading into this matchup. As for your stat comparison, these are your 2019 final stats. Obviously, both teams have not played a single game yet this fall, so we do not have any stats from the 2020 season. But these are your 2019 final stats. For Nebraska, they had 22 points per game last year, 28 points allowed per game. And so they obviously had a lot more points allowed. And the main reason for that was obviously because Nebraska, I mean, they only had 5 wins last season, so it makes sense why that would happen. But they had 205 pass yards per game, 115 rush yards, and 4 yards allowed. They had 298 pass yards and then 152 rush yards. So this defense all around was not very good, especially in the secondary last season. As for Ohio State, they had 36 points per game, 19 points allowed per game. They had 276 pass yards, 184 rush yards, and then for yards allowed, they had 209 pass yards and 88 rush yards. So all around, yeah, both teams, I'd say Ohio State is definitely leading our stat comparison here, considering, once again, these are your 2019 stats, so these are going to be much different as we head into the 2020 season. But this is just going to be kind of an example just to see where both teams were at, especially last season. Obviously, Ohio State was a college football playoff team, so they were much better than Nebraska was, which Nebraska missed a bowl game by just a win, but still, all around, Ohio State should be the favored one here in this matchup. But don't sleep on Nebraska this season. I think Nebraska's got a chance to possibly pull a couple of big upsets at some point in this regular season coming up for the Big Ten. So watch out for Nebraska. Don't sleep on this team throughout the year, but I definitely think Ohio State should be the stronger team in this situation. Some key points: the two teams who brought back the Big Ten are going to be playing each other in this matchup, obviously. Ohio State and Nebraska both were very influential in bringing back the Big Ten this season, which obviously the Big Ten coming back made the Pac-12 and the Mid-American Conference both come back. So yeah, that's kind of something that's really kind of significant about this matchup here, and something that's also kind of ironic in the same way. But yeah, it's going to be, once again, kind of a fun matchup between both these teams, considering both teams really cooperated with each other to try to get back to Big Ten. But yeah, Ohio State obviously should be a national contender this year, and there's no doubt in my mind about that. I think, I mean, as you heard me talking about this offseason, I was always saying either Clemson or Ohio State would win the national championship this year. And obviously Alabama's been playing really well so far. I think you could consider Alabama to be in that mix as well. But I still think Ohio State should be considered as a national contender this year. I mean, you got Justin Fields at quarterback, definitely one of the best quarterbacks in all of the nation, one of the more underrated ones as well. And you got all around just a great offense. Your defense is looking to be returning most of the team. So all around, this defense is looking great as well. So I mean, they do lose Okuda and a couple of the big players there, but still, Ohio State has got a lot of depth. They've got a great recruiting class coming in as well. So all around, Ohio State, I think, is a team that's definitely going to be very dangerous throughout this season. And there's no doubt in my mind that they should go on to possibly make a college football playoff appearance once again in this 2020 through 21 season. But Nebraska's got potential for a lot of improvement as well. Don't sleep on Nebraska. Once again, I'll say that again. They've got potential to put up a big season as well. I just don't think it's going to happen against Ohio State, and that's why I've got Ohio State winning this matchup. But I do think Nebraska sticks around at first. I think your halftime score is going to be 21-17. Ohio State's going to lead it, but Nebraska's going to be a little bit scary at first. But I think in the second half, Ohio State is going to pull away and get the win by a pretty significant margin. 38-24 is going to be your final score. Ohio State will end up getting a pretty easy win over Nebraska in the end. But I still think, Nebraska's going to be extremely motivated in this game, I think. There's going to be a ton of motivation and energy on the Cornhuskers side, and that's something that you do have to watch out for if you're Ohio State. But I think the Buckeyes are going to have that same energy. Once again, Ohio State was one of the teams that brought back this conference, and Ohio State's going to have a ton of energy because of that. And I think, in general, Ohio State's got a ton of talent on this team. They've got Justin Fields, who looks to be a great leader this season, and definitely one of the best quarterbacks in the nation in comparison to Trevor Lawrence. And I think Ohio State definitely has got a ton of talent, ton of potential. I think they get the win here in the end. 38-24 is going to be your final score. But do let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup. Obviously, I'd consider this to be one of the bigger matchups in the Big Ten this week. But do let me know your score predictions, team predictions, etc. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. But then again, thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed this preview, slap a like on it, subscribe as well. Really upset the channel. I'd really appreciate that. But as always, thanks again for watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central, and I will see you all later.